Good afternoon. We're here at the bar offices and it's post-election, a couple of days, and as we're letting the dust settle, we're trying to get an idea of where we will be next session. From the lawyer's perspective, we thought you'd want to know that we now have 17 lawyer legislators serving in the legislature. We have 6 Republicans in the House, 6 Democrats in the House, and then we have 3 Republican senators and 2 Democrat senators. 3 of them are new to the legislative process. Jim Carlin from up in Sioux City, Nate Bolden from here in Des Moines, and Andy McKean, who was formerly served in the House, is back. We're welcoming Andy back. He'll be a great addition. So we'll have 17 lawyer legislators serving. The legislature will begin on January 9th, and they will go 110 days this session. That means they'll get their funding, their per diem, up until April 28th. Doug is going to talk to you about more generally about the election, but in terms of the issues that are coming up, we will have our usual affirmative legislative program that is still in the process of being put together. Portions of it were adopted at the September board meeting. At the December board meeting, we will also have some legislative proposals. They will be in the areas of family law, business law, criminal law, real estate, and corporate law. We usually have anywhere from, depending upon how they draft the bills, anywhere from 12, 15, 17 affirmative bills that we put in. A major issue for us during the upcoming session will be the judicial branch budget. As you know, they received status quo funding last year, which was significantly less than what they'd requested, and they'll be back asking for additional monies this year, and if they don't receive the funding, it will be extremely difficult for the court to continue operating as it has. It's going to be a very tight budget year, and because of that, the judicial branch appropriations will be a very difficult and challenging issue for us. Another area of the law that will be looked at, we're sure, or positive, given the constitution of the legislature being controlled by Republicans in the House, Republicans in the Senate, we will probably see some tort reform type measures that the bar will follow very closely as well. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Doug Strike, who works with me on Bar Association matters, as you know. And Doug will talk to you more generally about the composition of the legislature and add a few things. I think you should know the legislature will begin on January 9th, and under their rules, the per diem that they receive, the funding they receive for attending and serving in the legislature, goes 110 days for the first session of the biennium, which means their funding will run out on or about April 28th. Usually they get out of town fairly quickly after that. Being the first year after an election, it's hard to tell because we don't know how the legislature will operate. In the Senate, we'll have a whole new slate of leaders. Bill Dix will be the majority leader in the Senate. Jack Whitfer, a lawyer legislator, was elected as president of the Senate this afternoon. He's the second lawyer legislator to serve in that capacity. And on the House side, Linda Upmeyer will be Speaker of the House, and Chris Hagenow, we expect, will be the majority leader again, which would be really kind of nice for the legal profession in that we will have a lawyer legislator as president of the Senate and hopefully a lawyer legislator as majority leader in the House. And with that, I'll turn it over to Doug to talk to you a little bit. Thank you.
Hello, Jim Carney and I are over at the Bar Association today discussing what went on with the elections and trying to boil that down in a form that ISBA members would be able to readily understand. Tuesday was certainly a completely unexpected result in the state of Iowa. We certainly knew that Iowa was in play nationally, and we were starting to see some polling that was showing there might be a few other races in play, but what we had for results in Iowa eventually rose to a level that was completely unexpected. Looking at federal races, of course, we all know that Donald Trump won the state of Iowa, but also winning across the state of Iowa, since he was running on change, we had 4 incumbent congressional members. The 4 House of Representative members were all reelected, and we had Senator Grassley, who was elected to a 7th term. So while the electorate was talking about change, they elected all of their incumbents. While we're continuing to look and talk about change, in fact, there was an article in the Des Moines Register discussing how there was so much change in the legislature. The Iowa House went from 57 Republicans and 43 Democrats, so Republican control, to 59 Republicans and 41 Democrats. The interesting angle on that is there was only one incumbent legislator who was defeated in their bid for re-election. So again, while the electorate was talking about change, they re-elected all of the legislators but one to the Iowa House that ran again. Now, there were 14 retirements in the Iowa House after the last legislative session, so they announced their retirement at the end of the 2016 legislative session, and those seats ended up being filled. So there were 14 retirements that had been announced. Those seats were filled by 11 Republicans and 4 Democrats. That ends up how you had the break. There were actually 9 Republicans who had announced their retirements, and 11 Republicans came back in. How that will impact leadership in the Iowa House, we don't believe it will have any impact on the Republican leadership, so we expect to continue to have Speaker Uppmeyer as Speaker of the Iowa House and lawyer legislator Chris Hagenow as Majority Leader of the Iowa House. We would expect some changes in the assistant leadership positions as committee chairs are filled due to the retirements. Of the 9 Republicans that retired, 5 of them were committee chairs. So we expect to see some shifting of committee chairs and some individuals dropping out of assistant leadership or whip positions and into committee leadership positions in the Iowa House. Democrats in the Iowa House obviously lost 2 seats. Currently, Minority Leader Mark Smith is rallying his troops to come in and have a caucus. We don't know if there will be a leadership challenge there or what will happen in their caucus. We need to wait and see how that boils out. We would also expect to see some changes in the ranking members of the various committees. Ranking members of committees are the lead minority member, the top minority member on a particular committee. Where the change happened in Iowa was in the Iowa Senate. The Iowa Senate, prior to Election Day, had been sitting at, in effect, 26-4, 26 Republicans and 24 Democrats, and it had been that way since the elections in 2010. Right after the 2016 session, Senator David Johnson from Northwest Iowa announced that he was going to leave the Republican Party and file as an independent. So technically we've been at 26 Democrats, 23 Republicans, and 1 independent. After the election that happened on Tuesday, and when we come to have the legislature sworn in January of 2017, Senate Republicans will have 29 seats, Senate Democrats will control 23, and there's a caveat to that, and then we don't know what's going to happen with Senator Johnson, if he'll continue to be an independent, if he'll come back to the Republican Party, if he'll caucus with the Democrats and stay as an independent. That one is unknown. So we have had a change in majority leadership in the Iowa Senate. We are now going to be under a Republican-controlled Iowa Senate, along with a Republican-controlled Iowa House, and obviously Republican Terry Branstad being the governor. There is going to be a little bit of a change, possibly. There is currently a vacant Senate seat. Senator Joe Singh passed away a few months ago from brain cancer, glioblastoma, and that seat will be filled by a special election in December 27th. The Democrats have selected House of Representative member Jim Lycum, Representative Lycum, to run as the Democrat in that seat. It's expected that Representative Lycum has a fairly strong chance of winning the seat because it's a very Democrat seat over in Davenport that Senator Singh held. However, that will also bring about another special election should Representative Lycum be elected senator. His seat in the Iowa House will be vacated, and then the governor will have to call a special session to fill that seat. What happened in the Iowa Senate to change the majority control was that 6 sitting incumbent Democrat senators were defeated in their re-election bids. I can honestly say that no one saw such a swing coming. A lot of folks expected a 25-25 tie or saw maybe the Republicans taking a 1 or 2 seat majority, but coming back with 29 votes was really not on anybody's play card. Just give you a list of the names of the individuals who were defeated. First, Senator Mike Gronstal, the majority leader of the Iowa Senate, lost his re-election bid in Council Bluffs. So that obviously will change leadership in the majority party. I'm sorry, in the minority party, now that Democrats are in the minority. Also losing was Senator Mary Jo Wilhelm, lost to Waylon Brown. Senator Brian Shanejohn, again, another Democrat, defeated by Craig Johnson. Senator Steve Sodders, who has served as the Judiciary Chair in the Senate, was defeated by Jeff Edler. Senator Tom Courtney, who has co-chaired the Justice and Judicial Branch budgets for many years, lost his re-election bid to Thomas Green. And then Senator Chris Braze in Southeast Iowa was defeated by Mark Lofgren, a former House of Representatives member who ran for Congress, did not win the primary to run for Congress, and came back to run for the Senate. A lot of change, but a lot of familiar faces still up at the Capitol. The Bar Association, Jim Carney, Shannon Henson, and myself look forward to getting to know these 23 new members that will be coming to the House and rekindling our friendships and policy work with the members who are returning.